Football is a game of skill, a game of tactics and training, of sweat and sacrifice. But sometimes something else takes control. An unseen hand, a whisper of fate that descends upon the hallowed turf. It is a force that defies logic, that mocks preparation, and that reminds us all that this beautiful game is, at its heart, beautifully unpredictable. It is in these moments, these flickers of sheer, unadulterated chaos, that legends are both made and cruelly unmade. The script is torn up. The narrative is rewritten in an instant. The 90 minutes become a stage for the absurd, the bizarre, and the utterly unforgettable. A perfect plan can be undone by a single cruel twist of fortune. These are the moments that haunt the dreams of players and fans alike. They are the spectral events that linger in the collective memory of the sport, passed down through generations like chilling ghost stories told around a campfire. A gust of wind at the wrong time. A bobble of the ball on an imperfect pitch. A referee's momentary blindness. These are not mere mistakes, they are interventions from another realm, moments where the laws of probability seem to bend and break. They are the stories that defy explanation, leaving only questions and the lingering, cold feeling that the result was somehow preordained by a power far greater than any manager's tactical whiteboard. Consider the sheer randomness of it all. 1,000 training sessions, 1,000,000 passes, countless hours spent perfecting the craft, all can be rendered meaningless by one freakish deflection, one bizarre bounce, one inexplicable decision. It is the curse and the beauty of football. The game's capacity for such moments is what keeps us tethered to it, what keeps us watching with bated breath. We know that at any second the mundane can become the miraculous, or the triumphant can become the tragic. The margins are so fine, so impossibly thin, that it feels as though the game itself is alive, breathing, and capable of a cruel sense of humour. And so we journey into the shadows, into the archives of the game's most cursed moments. We will revisit the scenes of these footballing tragedies, not to reopen old wounds, but to understand them, to analyse the anatomy of misfortune and to pay tribute to those who were caught in its unforgiving grip. These are not just stories of bad luck. They are testaments to the emotional chaos that football can unleash. They are reminders that for every moment of glory, there is an equal and opposite moment of despair, often decided by nothing more than the flip of a cosmic coin. It was October 17th, 2009, a crisp autumn afternoon at the Stadium of Light. Sunderland faced the mighty Liverpool, a team of giants. The home side, the Black Cats, were underdogs, fighting for every scrap. Just 5 minutes into the game, the moment arrived. A moment so bizarre it would be etched into Premier League folklore forever. Sunderland's Andy Reid sent a cross into the box. It was cleared, but only as far as Darren Bent, the Sunderland striker. He took a shot, a routine effort, heading towards the near post. Liverpool's goalkeeper, Pepe Reina, was positioned perfectly. He was ready. He was set. But fate had other ideas. A red beach ball, emblazoned with the Liverpool crest, had been thrown onto the pitch by a young Liverpool fan moments earlier. It sat innocently in the penalty area. An inanimate object, a child's toy, about to become the most pivotal player on the field. Bent's shot was not powerful, but it was on its way. It struck the beach ball. The laws of physics, so reliable and true, were suddenly twisted into a cruel joke. The football deflected. It veered sharply, wickedly, away from Reina's despairing dive and nestled into the opposite corner of the net. The stadium erupted, a cocktail of celebration and utter disbelief. For Darren Bent, it was a goal. For Sunderland, it was a lead. But for Pepe Reina and Liverpool, it was a betrayal by the universe. How do you prepare for that? How does a world-class goalkeeper, a master of his craft, account for a beach ball? The referee, Mike Jones, was caught in the storm. The rules stated that if play is interfered with by an outside object, the game should be stopped. The goal should not have stood. But in the heat of the moment, in the chaos of the deflection, the goal was given. It was a human error born from an event of pure, unadulterated absurdity. That single fateful goal was the only goal of the game. Sunderland 1, Liverpool 0. A beach ball had defeated a titan of English football. The legacy of that moment is a strange one. It is a cautionary tale, a pub quiz answer, a symbol of football's capacity for the surreal. It cost Liverpool points in a tight season, but more than that, it left an indelible mark. It serves as a permanent reminder that no matter how much you plan, no matter how much you train, you can never, ever account for a beach ball. The game was decided not by men, but by a piece of inflatable plastic. The date was October 18th, 2013. The setting, the Rhein-Neckar Arena. Bayer Leverkusen were visiting Hoffenheim in a critical Bundesliga clash. Leverkusen were leading 1-0. The game was tense, the atmosphere electric. In the 70th minute, Leverkusen won a corner. Gonzalo Castro whipped the ball into the box. The towering striker, Stefan Kiesling, rose to meet it. He made contact with his head. The ball flew towards the goal, but to his eyes and to the eyes of many, it had gone wide. It had struck the side netting. Kiesling turned away, his hands on his head in frustration. A missed chance, a moment gone. But then the unbelievable happened. The referee, Dr. Felix Brich, blew his whistle. He pointed to the centre circle. He had given a goal. The Leverkusen players, initially confused, began to celebrate. The Hoffenheim players, incensed and bewildered, surrounded the official. What had he seen? What had anyone seen? The replay showed the truth, a truth so bizarre it felt like a glitch in reality. Kiesling's header had indeed hit the side netting, but it had passed through a small, almost invisible hole, a flaw in the very fabric of the goal. The ball, having gone outside, had somehow found its way inside, where it lay innocently on the turf. It was a phantom tour, a ghost goal, a goal that never was. Stefan Kiesling himself was caught in a moral whirlwind. He hadn't seen it go in. He admitted as much to the referee, but his words were lost in the pandemonium. The goal stood. Leverkusen now led 2-0, a scoreline built on a foundation of pure illusion. The game ended 2-1 to Leverkusen, the phantom goal proving to be the decisive one. The incident sparked a furious debate across Germany. Should the game be replayed? Was it sportsmanship or the referee's final word that mattered most? In the end, Hoffenheim's appeal was rejected. The rules were clear. The referee's on-field decision, however flawed, was final. The result stood. The hole in the net was repaired, a physical solution to a metaphysical problem. But the ghost of that goal lingered. It haunted Stefan Kiesling, who was unfairly branded by some. It haunted Dr. Brisch, an esteemed referee caught in a once-in-a-lifetime calamity. It was a stark reminder of the fallibility of human perception and the reliance of the game on the integrity of its equipment. A tiny, insignificant hole had caused a monumental injustice. The air at Stamford Bridge on May 6, 2009 was thick with destiny. It was the second leg of the UEFA Champions League semi-final, Chelsea versus Barcelona. The first leg had been a tense 0-0 stalemate at the Camp Nou. Now, in London, it was winner takes all. The prize, a place in the final. Michael Essien's thunderous volley in the 9th minute gave Chelsea the lead. The home crowd was a roaring sea of blue. They were dominant. They were creating chances. They were, it seemed, on their way to Rome. But as the game wore on, a different narrative began to unfold. A narrative of frustration, anger, and a burning sense of injustice. The man at the centre of the storm was the Norwegian referee, Tom Henning Øvrebø. As Barcelona chased the game, Chelsea broke forward time and time again. And time again, their appeals for a penalty were waved away. First, Dani Alves appeared to fell Florent Malouda inside the box. Nothing given. Then Didier Drogba, clean through on goal, was seemingly pulled back by Eric Abidal. Play on. The tension was ratcheting up with every decision. The Chelsea players grew more frantic, the crowd more apoplectic. It felt less like a football match and more like a trial. The third and fourth claims were the most egregious. A clear handball by Gerard Piqué, his arm outstretched in an unnatural position to block a pass from Nicolas Anelka. Surely this was it. But no, Øvrebø was unmoved. Moments later, another handball, this time from Samuel Eto'o. Again, the pleas were ignored. It was a siege, not just on the Barcelona goal, but on the referee's resolve. The decisions were not just questionable. They were, in the eyes of the Chelsea faithful, a pattern, a conspiracy, a catastrophic failure of officiating on the grandest stage. Then came the sucker punch. In the 93rd minute, with Chelsea seconds from victory, Andrés Iniesta struck. A sublime curling shot from the edge of the area that flew into the top corner. Barcelona were level. They were through on away goals. The final whistle brought not celebration, but pure, unadulterated fury. Didier Drogba's infamous televised tirade of "It's a disgrace" became the defining image of the night. For Chelsea, it was not a defeat, it was a theft. A night when luck or something more sinister had abandoned them completely, leaving only a bitter, festering wound that would take years to heal. There are own goals, and then there are moments of self-inflicted despair, so bizarre they feel almost supernatural. They're really the footballing equivalent of being struck by lightning on a clear day. Consider for a moment the plight of a defender whose entire career is built on a foundation of prevention and denial. Their job is to be a barrier, a shield. But what happens when that shield, turns against its own? What happens when a simple routine action becomes a catalyst for catastrophe? These are the moments that defy coaching, that justify practice, and that leave a player isolated in a stadium of thousands, wishing the ground would, swallow them whole. One of the most memorable examples comes from the boots of Tony Popovic. Playing for Crystal Palace against Portsmouth in 2004, a seemingly harmless cross was floated towards him. Attempting a stylish clearance, Popovic flicked his heel at the ball. It was an audacious, almost arrogant move. The connection was perfect. Too perfect. The ball looped impossibly majestically over his own goalkeeper, Garba Kirali, and settled into the back of his own net. It was a finish a world-class striker would have been proud of, except, it was at the wrong end. The beauty of the goal was matched only by the horror of its context. What causes these moments? Is it a lapse in concentration? A miscalculation of physics? Or is it maybe something more? It is as if an invisible force guides the ball on its tragic trajectory. The player intends one thing, but their body, for a split second, is no longer their own. They become a puppet, and fate is the puppet master, pulling the strings in the cruelest possible way. The emotional impact is devastating. The silence of the home fans, the jeers of the away support, and the sympathetic but ultimately useless pats on the back from teammates. It is a lonely, cold place to be. These goals are statistical anomalies. The probability of a defender executing such a precise yet unintended finish is infinitesimally small. They are black swans in a sea of routine clearances. They remind us that the line between genius and madness, between brilliance and calamity, is terrifyingly thin. A perfectly weighted pass becomes a disaster. A powerful clearance becomes a rocket into the top corner. In these moments, the player is not just battling the opposition. They are battling the laws of probability. And on these rare, cursed occasions, they are destined to lose. It was a cold November night in Paris in 2009. The Stade de France was just a cauldron of noise. France versus the Republic of Ireland. This was the second leg of a World Cup playoff. The prize? A ticket to the 2010 tournament in South Africa. Ireland, led by the venerable Giovanni Trapattoni, had lost the first leg 1-0 in Dublin. But in Paris, honestly, they were magnificent. Robbie Keane's goal had levelled the tie. The game went to extra time. The Irish were fearless, creating chances, looking the more likely team to score the golden goal that would send their nation into raptures. But in the 103rd minute, the dream began to die. A French free kick was lofted deep into the Irish penalty area. The ball sailed towards the byline, seemingly heading out of play. French captain Thierry Henry chased it down. As the ball bounced, he stopped it with his hand. Not once, but twice. He controlled it, steadied himself, and hooked a pass across the face of the goal. William Gallas was there to head it home. The French players celebrated. The Irish players, led by goalkeeper Shay Given, sprinted towards the Swedish referee, Martin Hansson, their arms outstretched, their faces masks of pure outrage. Hansson and his linesman had missed it. In real time, at full speed, from their angles, the illegal touch was invisible. They saw a ball kept in play and a goal scored. The protests were waved away. The goal stood. France were now leading 2-1 on aggregate. The spirit of the Irish team was broken. They had been robbed not by a moment of genius, but by a moment of blatant cheating, missed by the officials. The final whistle confirmed their fate. France were going to the World Cup. Ireland were going home, their hearts shattered by an unforgivable injustice. The aftermath was a global firestorm. Henry, a player celebrated for his elegance and sportsmanship, became a villain. He admitted the handball, but the result could not be changed. The phrase, "the hand of God," a direct reference to Maradona's infamous goal, was coined. The incident became a primary exhibit in the case for video technology in football. It was a referee's worst nightmare, a moment that exposed the limitations of the human eye and the devastating consequences of a single, unseen action. For Ireland, it remains a deep and painful scar, a story of what might have been stolen by a hand in the dark. In the grand theatre of football, the deflection is fate's most common and most cruel instrument. It is a moment of pure chance, a random act that can transform a hopeful shot into an unstoppable goal, or a heroic block into a tragic own goal. A player positions themselves perfectly. They read the game, anticipate the shot, and throw their body on the line. It is an act of bravery, the ultimate defensive sacrifice. But in that split second, fortune can turn. The ball, destined for the goalkeeper's gloves or the safety of row Z, takes a wicked spin off a shin, a knee, or a trailing foot. The goalkeeper, who had their angles covered, who was set and ready, is rendered utterly helpless. They are a spectator to the tragedy unfolding in their own 6-yard box. The ball, now on a new unholy trajectory, drifts agonizingly into the net. The player who made the block can only watch in horror. Their heroic intention has resulted in the very outcome they sought to prevent. It is a moment of profound footballing irony. The stadium is filled with a collective groan, a sound of shared despair. The goal is not celebrated by the opposition with the same fervour. It is acknowledged with a shrug, a quiet thank you to the football gods. Think of the countless title races, cup finals and relegation battles that have been decided by such moments. A team can defend flawlessly for 89 minutes, only to be undone by a deflected shot in stoppage time. It feels like a betrayal by the ball, by the laws of physics, by the very game they love. There is no one to blame. The attacker's shot was wayward. The defender's action was correct. Yet the result is a goal. It is a ghost in the system, an unsolvable equation that always ends in heartbreak for one side. These moments underscore the thin veil that separates success from failure. They're a humbling reminder that for all the strategy and athleticism, football remains a game of inches and unpredictable bounces. A deflection is not a mistake. It is a random event, a statistical inevitability over the course of a season. But that provides little comfort to the player whose name is recorded in the annals of history next to the letters OG, or to the goalkeeper who is left stranded, a statue of despair. It is luck at its most brutal, a swift and silent killer of dreams. So, what are we to make of these moments? These beach balls, phantom goals, and cruel deflections? Are they simply random occurrences in a game of infinite variables? Or do they hint at something more? A hidden script, an unwritten narrative that plays out regardless of our plans and preparations. To dismiss them as mere bad luck feels too simple. It fails to capture the emotional weight, the sheer theatricality of these events. They feel significant. They feel chosen. They feel like chapters in a story far grander than a single 90-minute match. They are the moments that give football its mythology. The game is a human endeavour, and therefore it is inherently flawed. It is played by fallible people, officiated by fallible people, on surfaces that are never perfectly flat, with equipment that is not always flawless. It is within this imperfection that the magic and the madness of football reside. Luck or fate is simply the name we give to the moments when these imperfections align in the most dramatic and consequential way possible. It is the ghost in the machine, the unpredictable variable that ensures no game is ever truly decided until the final whistle blows. It keeps us hoping. It keeps us believing. These stories of misfortune are not just tales of woe. They are integral to the sport's identity. They provide balance. For every Iniesta wonder goal, there must be a Stamford Bridge meltdown. For every glorious victory, there must be the sting of an unjust defeat. These moments bind us together as fans. They give us shared reference points of pain and disbelief. They fuel the debates, the arguments, and the passion that keep the sport alive long after the players have left the pitch. They are the scars that prove we were there, that we cared, that we were part of something unpredictable and beautiful. Perhaps, in the end, that is the point. Football is not meant to be a perfect science. It is an art form, a drama, a tragedy and a comedy, often all at once. The hand of Henry, the beach ball at Sunderland, the ghost goal of Kiesling. They are not glitches, they are features. They are the system working as intended, creating a tapestry of emotion so rich and so varied that we cannot help but be captivated. The game would be poorer without them. It would be sterile, predictable, and devoid of its soul. But these are just my reflections. What are the moments that you believe prove the existence of a footballing fate? Which unlucky event is forever burned into your memory?